What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back. We are moving on to the NFC
Third game.
Wildcard. This is going to be the Minnesota Vikings going into the New Orleans Saints.
Couldn't be the game of the week, bub.
It's going to be a good game. It's in the Superdome. This should be an interesting matchup. Kirk Cousins on the other side of Drew Brees there. We'll see what happens. This one should be interesting. Yeah, Vikings 10-6 at Saints 13-3. The Saints did get that number 3 seed, with the Vikings coming in at the 6th seed. This is going to be another game that is going to be very interesting. New Orleans and Minnesota, like we said, first time playing this year. Drew Brees, obviously, massacring Panthers last week.
Oh, God.
Doing so good. Drew Brees, and this is something to be mentioned, definitely. Drew Brees 8-6 in the playoffs. In 14 career playoff games and counting, Brees has thrown for 31 touchdowns, just 10 interceptions. Brees' playoff record is 8-6, and his postseason record at the Superdome is perfect.
Damn.
So, that's why I am taking the Saints. Drew Brees' last 6 games, as you can see, 110-plus rating. Michael Thomas on the other side of the ball, getting thrown to over there, is definitely having a beast of a season. Like we mentioned before, just broke the record, or what was it? Did he break the record for most receptions in a season?
Sure did. Then he broke it again the next week.
Just ridiculous man over there. We got some news that somebody from the Saints might be coming back.
It's actually Dalvin Cook for the Vikings. That's good news for them since they had absolutely no run game for the last couple weeks. I mean, last week they had a pretty good one, but yeah, Dalvin Cook will be back in the lineup. He says he's ready to go, and he will be for that game. And it's going to be hard to stop him. But on the other hand, the Saints have not allowed a 100-yard rusher all fucking year, dog. Yeah. All year. So he could be a big-time factor in this ball game.
He definitely could be. But the reason I went with the Saints is they just have more playoff experience. They outrank the Vikings in offense and defense, except on the run. Saints are number 4 in run defense. Minnesota only averaging 220 yards per game passing. Now, 2019 receiving yards allowed, not good for Minnesota. Saints is definitely a good passing team.
Yes, sir.
But, New Orleans is number 2 in creating turnovers as well, so the D has definitely stepped up. New Orleans is 6-2 at home, while Minnesota is 4-4 on the road. So it's not looking good since Minnesota is going into New Orleans, and Drew Brees in the postseason doesn't lose at the Superdome.
It's good news for him.
It's definitely good news for him. The Vikings, don't put it past them, though. I mean, they might make a run. They're definitely a very sneaky team.
They're a solid defense for sure.
They got definitely a good defense. It's back and forth. They were definitely one of the teams that I was most worried about as far as in our division. But we beat them both times.
Yeah, they got a great pass defense rating, 10th in the league, and to quarterbacks rating, yard per average is 8th. I mean, they're just doing some work. But I'm going to have to go with the Saints as well, just because I think Drew Brees has more experience. They're at home. He's been tremendous this year, even though the numbers are down. But you still have to look out for Dalvin Cook. I think he's, like I said, I think he's going to be the biggest factor for the Vikings here because they run play action through him and do all that good stuff. Stephon Diggs, a baller. He's been kind of quiet this year too, I guess, and Thielen for that matter too. But I don't know. I think the Saints are just a much bigger powerhouse. I think they have much more to lose here than the Vikings do because this, Drew Brees is, basically career is dwindling down over and over and over. He's getting older. This is his time, if you will. So I like the Saints here. I mean,
yeah, it's hard not to pick the Saints.
Pass offense, 3rd most yards after catch. I mean, that helps when you got balling ass Michael Thomas. So
that's true. I mean,
but they're just balling.
The Vikings can pass, and they're not ranked all that high in the pass. It's one of those things where I believe they should be a lot higher. They got them ranked at 23rd.
Yeah, I mean, they got a star-studded offense, Stephon Diggs.
But their rushing is number 6.
Right, well, that's Dalvin Cook for you. So
yeah, I mean, they're a great passing team. Don't put it past the Vikings, but I think it's another one of those things where, see, NFC games aren't really run heavy. It's AFCs where they run a lot. So it's like teams with Minnesota when they got a good back and can play action a lot, that their running backs get it going real quick. And if you can get it going real quick early, the Vikings might have a chance at the Saints. But honestly, with the Saints D coming in hot, obviously Drew Brees is on fire. They're at home. They're just looking spectacular. That 4-4 on the road record isn't looking good for the Vikings.
No.
I just don't put a lot of faith in Cousins in these types of situations.
No, he's not clutch, but I think the big time factor here to look at is Michael Thomas. If something were to happen, and I don't want nothing to happen to the man, but if something were to happen in this game or at all throughout the playoffs, I don't think Drew Brees is good enough to. I mean, he's great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's strong enough without Michael Thomas to do much. If he were to go down, they got Jared Cook over there. Yeah, they got a couple other little guys. Ginn, he's kind of on the back end of his career, but don't look out. I mean, look out for the Vikings because they could come in and steal this one. Like I said, Stephon Diggs got a hell of an offense and a great defense, and a couple guys on their defense with 22 combined sacks, and they can get after the quarterback. But I just hope nothing happens to Michael Thomas for Saints fans because I think this is one of the last chances
they're
going to
need him all the way through the playoffs.
All the way, especially if they got to play the Niners or Seattle or Green Bay, somebody, with just as good an offense.
I mean, at 40 years old, he's
doing the work.
Doing what he needs to.
I think the Saints should pull this game off. And statistically, they're at home, all that good stuff. Drew Brees is just a much better quarterback than Cousins. The run game is just as good as Dalvin Cook, and then with Kamara, the guy's a human joystick. But, the Vikings have lost 2 straight. Packers and then the Bears, they didn't play anybody last week. They got a week off, so I'll give them that. They got a week off, so they might be fresh, and you better look out, Saints. But in the end, I think the Saints could get this one covered and take this one to the divisional round.
Yep, and that's going to be that Sunday game, the very first Sunday game at 1:05. Probably noon here. And
let's go Saints.
Yeah, I mean, should be interesting.
I still think it's game of the week.
I just had to take that one as game of the week as well, just because the Vikings may surprise you.
But don't sleep on the Vikings. But I think the Saints should have this one wrapped up, no problem. T-ball.
Yeah, definitely agree.
All right. Well, with that being said, we got one more game to go for you guys, so stay tuned.